Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good to be here. See you again. I know we got the players back in the building, and it's always good to get them back here. So we're just starting that beginning process, getting ready for a mini camp here next week. So I'll open up for questions.
Gus, I know we're going to talk to Shaq. I assume talk to him a little bit later, but what have you seen from him? Just getting, I guess, reacclimated with where he is in his career.
He seems in a really good place. I know he's been talking about his off season, how the workouts have been going, and how he's, just the confidence he's getting. So until we get him out there, and see. But every report we've got from our trainers and how he's feeling, it's a work in progress, right? He's always, Shaq is never good enough where he's at, but. I know he's in a good mindset. Like, he feels good about the direction it's going.
Did you know Samson at all before you guys signed him?
Did not know him personally, no. And one time we watched him when he was with the Rams, so had some familiarity with him then. And then, then obviously, this past year watching him.
What did you like when you watched him?
Just, I had a chance to meet with him today and just spend some time with him. But, a tremendous man. Individual, all those qualities, just like what you make contacts with people. That's the thing that keeps coming back. On tape, just his relentlessness. He plays extremely hard. He's got a passion for it. Very similar system, the 49ers up front, and what we do as far as, same philosophy. So that'll be a quick learning curve for him. He'll be a lot of carryover for him. So it's easier to evaluate him based on what we're going to ask him to do because you can see it on tape.
You guys obviously lost a really good player in Bobby, and Shaquille. There's the uncertainty there until he's here. What are expectations for someone like EJ Speed to step into a bigger role?
We are excited to get EJ back. I think EJ is a guy that what we saw from him was to be in the system, and then the more and more reps he got, the more comfortable he got playing at a high speed. So that was the challenge to get him back here because we feel like, boy, his upside and another year in the system, we're going to see a big jump from him. So, he's got a certain skill set that is unique, and that's what we're looking at as a coaching staff. I think the second year in the system, second year being with our guys, we could evaluate our guys now and say, all right, now that we have a pretty good idea about our players, how can we position them to be in position to make more plays? And EJ was one of those guys we felt like, well, we got to try to find a way to get him on the field more.
You did lose Gilmore, obviously, with the trade. And just wondering, just generally, how much have you studied the cornerbacks in this draft? And just when you look at that position generally at the college level, what are you looking for? What sticks out to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, we evaluate all the positions, but you're right. That is a spot that you watch for because it's such a need in the NFL, and that find a good one can really elevate your team. And when we look at things, hey, it's the 3 technique, it's the linebacker, it's the corner. That corner spot is pretty high on the list. So I think it's a good draft class overall. I think there's some guys. I think in the past the perception is a tall, long guys with a lot of length. And we do like those guys if they can, because they can play at the line of scrimmage and play a lot of press technique. And there's going to be times that, there's tight splits where they got to play off, so you just need to see that short area quickness. So the ideal part of it is the guy with some length that has good short area quickness. Well, this group, you see some guys like that. There's guys that stand out that have that ability. So it appears to be a pretty good group.
Just in your mind, how do you balance, you talk about second year in your system and the things you can do, but you're replacing probably 5 important players.
Right.
I realize there's loss every year, but how do you balance those two?
Well, it is. I mean, now you got next guys that will step up. And, I think the system, there's going to be some subtle changes in it, some things that, that we felt like we did well last year and we want to build on. And there's some things we're going to throw out. And but regardless if it's take for example like an EJ, maybe didn't play quite as much as we'd like to see him play. His second year, he's going to get more of an opportunity. So it is his second year in this system. We see what he can do, so we can take advantage of that part. But you're right. There's always going to be guys that get their opportunity and stand up, and there's always going to be guys that maybe you didn't realize were going to have a good year and have a good year when it's all said and done. So but it is a balance. We know we lost some, Unique Ngakoue, right? Like, he was a tremendous player for us. And, that's the NFL. There's sometimes you bring new guys in and they got to step up, and every year is different with the team. And, I think the big part of it is that we have a better feel for the players, and hopefully the players have a better feel for us as coaches.
What was the uncertainty of the offseason like for you, just going through the coaching search and waiting to find out who was next?
Well, you can't run from it, right? The unknown and what's going on and what's taking place. But I think they were very upfront here and very open. Hey, there's going to be a waiting game. We're going to do our due diligence and hire a head coach, and there might be some unknowns for you. And we'll keep in touch and let you know as much as we can let you know, and we go. But I think we've all pretty much been in a situation like that at one point or the other.
When it became Shane, what was your reaction? Obviously, you guys have a relationship.
Yeah, it was great. We were together at the Chargers, and our families are close, wives are close. So you would hope for him that he would get an opportunity because you felt like he deserved it, and then to be able to come to the Colts was great. And we were close as coaching. We didn't do a lot of things outside the building, but inside the building, multiple conversations, and it built a unique friendship that way. But there's also a respect for him and the job that he's done, and we've been apart for a couple of years now. But we still keep in touch and watch people from afar. I watch their offense. He watches our defense and communicates some that way.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but under Frank, he kind of let you run the defense, right? There wasn't a ton of overlap. He took the offense. Do you envision that being the same situation with Shane?
Well, let's go back to Frank. I appreciated Frank for this part of it. There was constant dialogue about, how does a quarterback see this? When he goes back, where the safety is positioning, let's talk about this. Gus, I'll tell you, if you do this, it creates a seed of doubt. If you do this, it makes it a little bit tougher. So Frank and I had conversations like that. That's how it was at the Chargers with Shane and I. So I envision it continuing, that conversations. We just had one today where we were talking about that. And to me, that was one of the reasons why the Colts job intrigued me, was to come with a guy like Frank because of that banter, because of that discussion. And now I know I'm going to have it again. Our defense is going to have it again with Shane. It makes it that much more exciting.
Along those same lines, because you know the offense as well as you do, can you help get them ready like this time of year in a training camp? Help exploit maybe some of the weak areas and things like that with your defense?
For what's that now? As far as for offensively?
Yeah. Can you with your defense, can you help maybe, because you know their offense as well as you do?
Yeah, we played them last year, and it's certainly different than somewhat of it than with the Chargers, right? So, but yeah, I think it's just some of the things, at this point in time in OTAs, training camp, it's not like we sit down and say, all right, let's game plan against our offense. Now we're more on the teaching, the fundamentals. Hey, let's get lined up, let's execute, let's make sure we got good leverage. It's more of that philosophy than, hey, this is what we would do against you. I'm sure those discussions happen in the office now, but they probably won't happen on the field.
This team has generally had pretty good depth at linebacker, but when guys peel off, then it eats into your depth. So with Bobby departing, you talked about EJ, but what about depth there? You've had to tap into it. Do you feel like you need to develop something?
I think every year we talk to the coaching staff each year about being developmental coaches. And it's not only just developing players, but the coaching staff as well. Guys like Cato June, right? We want to develop him. Mike Mitchell, we want to develop him. So you kind of get your coaches into that mindset at all times. So now with the linebackers, you see Bobby, he had a chance to move on, and he had, rewarded for his play. Those things happen. Now it's the next person, and our job is to develop them to create some depth. So you'll see it like in OTAs. Richard Smith, like you asked for about linebackers. Every linebacker will play all three linebacker positions. And, they'll get a chance to play Mike, they'll play Will, they'll play Otto, and they'll interchange and play all three of them. That way, if we ever get in the season, we can constantly have the next man up, regardless of position, go play. And the other thing, it just creates more depth. So we've got some work to do there, but we feel like we got some good prospect that we need to develop.
How do you feel like Nick Cross I mean, obviously he didn't play much as a rookie, but how do you feel like he developed, and how important is he since, around
Yeah,
this age?
I mean, that's Nick is conversations with him too. That second year, that jump that he can make here, he is extremely talented. He's fast. He's got the ability. So now it's just playing fast on the field. That part we didn't see in the beginning of the year. Felt like that he was thinking a lot. His conversation was more about doing things right rather than just reacting, and it slowed him down some. And I think as the season went on, conversations towards the end, it was more like, you know what, I felt it. I know what that feels like now, where you're thinking too much and not playing as fast as maybe I did in college. So if he can recognize that and own that and say, all right, now in the next year, let's get back to playing fast. That's the conversations we had. So, yes, it would be great for him to take the next step for us.
Why he didn't play? I mean, he started.
Yeah.
Week 1, maybe week 2, and then didn't see the field, honestly.
Right. Yeah, and he played, and we want to get him in there and see just how fast he would play. And then I think it was wasn't the Kansas City game? We moved Rodney in there, and we just felt like it wasn't so much just play, it was the communication that took place too. I think Rodney was a great communicator, and I think it just brought a sense of calm to the guys back there because of that communication. That's the part that held Nick back, was that part.
Moore he expressed his frustration at the end of last season, not performing as well as he wanted to, not seeing eye to eye with you all, that's in the defensive staff. So he's back here, for another season. So how do you kind of find that middle ground to get the best out of him?
He's been great. The thing about Kenny is, and I support him, he is a really good communicator. Like, he's come in the off season, visiting, talking about, hey, the next step for him, the next step for where we want to go as a defense, and he's been tremendous. He's going to play a big part for us right now. And I know he was frustrated with the production overall, the interceptions, the caused fumbles when he was playing. But some of the things that he did within our scheme, some of the fundamentals, some of the things we asked him to do, he performed at a high level. But sometimes it appears just because of the takeaways you get or things like that. And that was his frustration. And he's right. That's why we got to do a good job of giving these guys a chance to be around the ball. And the nickel has a chance to do that. So, he's been tremendous. He's been very good communicating. Frustrated. We were all a little bit frustrated last year. It didn't go the way we wanted. But it wasn't a, animosity or anything like that.